Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Paranormal News. Tonight's article comes from news.sky.com, Sky News from the UK. And the headline is Young Blood, an elixir that prevents age related diseases, study reveals. Blood factors obtained from young beings can improve late life health in animals and put an end to age related diseases. It's written by Lucia Binding, and it was published September 8th, 2018. And this is another article that backs up something that we have done shows about on Staring, where we talk about uh, the super rich and the elite being able to do blood transfusions with young people to help their diseases and make them feel better. So, yet another article that proves something that we talked about years ago on the show. Blood taken from a young person could be the key to maintaining long lasting health in old age, scientists claim. Blood factors obtained from young beings can improve late life health in animals, the study published in Nature Journal revealed. It could also help reduce the chances of developing age related diseases, the scientist at University College London, UCL, said. Dame Linda Partridge, a geneticist at UCL, said research shows that young blood could allow humans to live a life free of diseases such as cancer and heart disease, right up until their deaths. I would say aging is the emperor of all diseases, she told the Times. A lot of people regard aging as natural, and that therefore you shouldn't interfere with nature. But we've always considered it an ethical imperative to cure illness where we find it. Professor Partridge's analysis of data forms are part of a wave of studies and trials backed by PayPal co-founder Peter Thiel at a San Francisco startup called Ambrosia. The trials saw older adults injected with young blood, something that would cost around $8,000 if rolled out to the public. Professor Partridge's study showed that older mice did not develop age-related diseases after being given young blood. The mice also maintained sharp cognitive function, while younger ones given older blood saw the opposite effect and became ill. The practical accessibility of both the human microbiome and blood system makes therapeutic manipulation a particularly attractive approach. But research in animals is needed to establish the long-term consequences and possible side effects, the study said. Well, we kind of already know the long-term consequences and side effects because this has been going on since the time of Elizabeth Bathory, for God's sakes. Blood is the most practically accessible and therefore the most commonly investigated tissue, but it is much less commonly used in animal studies. The trials by U.S. startup Ambrosia involved 70 participants, with all involved aged at least 35. After being given plasma, the main component of blood, from volunteers aged 16 and 25, researchers noted improvements in biomarkers for various diseases. Ambrosia currently offers teenage blood plasma to older customers at a cost of $8,000 for 2.5 liters. Meanwhile, another startup called Elixir believes a blood protein called GDF11 is the key ingredient. The company announced this week it had $5.5 million of investment backing their approach. And that is the end of this article. Now, a couple different things. First, we talked about this years ago. Not because of this article, I just found this article, even though it was published in 2018. But we talked about this because this has been happening for a long time. They do blood transfusions, and it makes the older people feel younger. It makes them better. If they have long-term diseases, it helps alleviate the symptoms of the disease. It lasts for anywhere from 2 weeks to a month or two, depending on the person, the severity of the disease, what disease it is, etc. This is something that is being done. Now, it's not something that is admittedly being done. Like, they don't admit to it, but it's something they're doing. Now, a couple things in this article, though, I want to point out. First of all, Like I said, we already kind of know the long-term consequences and the side effects because it's being done. I know it's being done. So they already kind of know what's going on with it. But I want to point to something in the beginning where they say that the exact quote was the trial saw older adults injected with young blood, something that would cost around $8,000 if rolled out to the public, right? So they're saying here this is what they would charge if they were to do it to the public, if they were to sell it to the public. But they're saying if, which means they're not selling it to the public, is what they're claiming here. That if they were going to, this is what they would charge. But then it's kind of funny how at the end of this article, it says Ambrosia, right now, Ambrosia was the same company. Ambrosia currently offers teenage blood plasma to older customers at a cost of, are you ready? $8,000, the exact same cost they said they would charge customers if they were to sell it to the public. Well, down at the bottom of this article, it's saying that they do sell it to the public. That they will sell it to an older customer for $8,000 for 2.5 liters. Then you have this other company, Allevian, which believes they found one of the blood proteins, GDF11, that is the ingredient that actually helps older people and helps with the disease and everything. So they're going to try to isolate that and probably synthetically produce it in a lab is what they're going to attempt to figure out how to do. Because if they can do that, then they can figure out a way to either make it a pill or to make it a shot or something like that that you can get and take on a regular basis to keep yourself from getting disease and keep yourself young. So that's their game plan. But I'm telling you, there's a contradiction here between what it says in the beginning and what it says at the end. Now, they're admitting that they do this already at the end of this article. Because once again, let me read it. Ambrosia currently offers teenage blood plasma to older customers at a cost of $8,000 for 2.5 liters. Currently offers. So they are doing this. Now, whether this is right, wrong, or in between, I'm not commenting on that right now. That's up to you to decide what you think. That's your moral standing, your moral structure will determine what you believe about that. I'm telling you, if you're doing it to kids against their will, it's wrong. And some of that happens. If this is something that teenagers can go in and voluntarily give blood for money, right? Let's say they make a job out of it. You can go in and you can give blood however often it's safe to give blood. And this company will pay you to give your blood a good amount of money. Because remember, they're charging $8,000 for 2.5 liters. So these teenagers should make at least $1,000 or $2,000 off of it. If they did something like that, I can see that being something that teenagers would do to make some cash, and it would benefit older people and keep them from having to have diseases, which would help a lot with the cost of our healthcare system. It could be a win-win for everybody if it's done properly. So I'm not saying this is wrong. So don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying, oh, look what these terrible things, look what these terrible people are doing. Oh, it's so bad. The idea behind it is good. Okay? The science is there. It can help older people. If you make it profitable for young people to donate the blood, to like sell it, everybody wins. Nobody's abused. Nobody's taken advantage of. Everybody wins. Old people get to feel better and not have to be in pain. Young people make some money that they can set themselves up a college fund, get themselves a house, that kind of stuff when they get old enough. It's a win-win for everybody. But the way it's being done now is not a win-win for everybody. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to get into it again because the last time I did a show on this topic and I got into deep detail on it, the channel got shadow banned after that, and my views went into the toilet, and people were being unsubscribed from the channel. They were messaging me and saying, hey, how come I keep getting unsubscribed? Are you kicking me off your channel or what? And I haven't done anything. It's YouTube that is kicking people off my channel and unsubscribing them because of the show that I did. They didn't like what I said. So I'm not going to get deep into who's doing it, why they're doing it, all that kind of stuff. If you want to hear that, go listen to the other show. I'm just telling you, this is an article that proves what I was talking about on that show is true. Right here it is. As always, 100% up to you to decide for yourself. Thank you all for listening. I love you, and I will catch you on the next one. Until I speak to you again, love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do I. Bye-bye.